What's up, guys? So today I want to make a video discussing why you can't replicate a boomer relationship. So let's get right into it. So first things first, boomer relationships are completely over. And what really inspired this video was a debate or sort of a discussion I had with a friend of mine who comes from the school of thought that you'll see in a lot of these red pill circles and more of the, psychologist circles per se, where they're talking about how once men reach 30, their SMV is finally equivalent to women. And now women finally realize that these guys all along that maybe weren't so attractive in the early 20s are actually really competent because they're in, high status careers, making a good income. And once you finally reach those 30s, if you just wait it out, you're going to realize that you have an abundance of options and, you know, it's a shame if you really tap out early, if you don't stay on the right track, because your SMB is going to skyrocket when you're in your 30s. And let me tell you, this type of thought is only going to lead to overly optimistic mindsets that are ultimately going to lead to delusional behavior in dating. And they're going to be a false perception of how much a girl truly values you. So, what are some common copes and black pill misconceptions and points that I had to debunk when he was bringing up these points to me? Well, the first one is really that women just really want a competent guy, bro, like someone with a good career who they can come home to and have good connection and chemistry. And this is incorrect because this is only applying to less attractive women who are in their 30s. This isn't something you're going to find in girls who are just graduating college and their SMV is still perceived as very high and they're still getting an abundance of DMs from attractive guys. And next, a competent guy is clearly not the same today as it was 30 plus years ago. 30 plus years ago, you had to have, something stable, something going for you. Prior to that, you really just had to have a job that was stable enough to where you could provide for a family with one income. And that was pretty easy to do back then. Nowadays, to be able to reach these jobs, you have to go through more schooling, more excess work if you're going to go down a traditional path. And for that sort of income or status driven career to be able to provide you with abundance of high quality options, you're going to have to reach like extremely high levels very fast for it to actually lead to genuine desire. And even then, I would still consider it, you know, compensating. It's a cope in a way. And so the next point sort of brought up to me was that, well, my mom is way more attractive than my dad, and he's not even rich. Like, he's making less money. He always made less money. And this is very common for a lot of guys to think, well, you don't even really have to make more than the women, or you don't have to be that attractive. Like, they just want someone who's competent, who they have a good connection with. And let me tell you, this is really just coming down to that 30, 40 years ago, there's just a lot more pressure on women to follow the, norm. Their parents were going to be pressuring them to get married. Today you're still going to see girls get pressured to get in a long-term relationship. But imagine what that was like a generation ago. Because it's really just the previous generation, you know, putting their thought process from their parents on the next generation. They're really just replicating the same thing with a little bit less of pressure each generation, but it's still constantly there. And women are now exposed to the most attractive men through social media. So if you think some girl's gonna get with some guy who's just less attractive, like, it's gonna be way more difficult nowadays. They're being exposed to the most attractive men. Previously, the most attractive guy might have been the guy that they saw at high school or the guy that they had a university class with. Nowadays, it can be the guy who they matched with one time on a dating app and she met him once, and then they just had sex because she truly had this desire for him. Like the 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 threshold for attractive men was a lot lower back then. You didn't have exposure to online dating or any social media like you did previously. You can make a simple search for black pill or looks maxing, and you're going to find guys that are way more attractive than any guy that she had previously seen in her life. Like it's pretty simple. And you might think, well, the same thing is happening to guys. Well, the difference is that this type of exposure is actually only making it harder for guys. So it's actually lowering their standards. So it's going the complete opposite ways for both men and women, because we know that women are going to view this type of attention they're getting from much more attractive men as real attention and real desire. And they're going to get feelings for that, type of attractiveness just so much faster than they could previously. I mean, think about your high school. The most attractive guy in your high school class, they might not even have been like a Chad. Like there might have been like one or two Chad lights if you're lucky. Like the attractive guy at plenty of high schools may just be a high tier normie. Like I don't think that's that uncommon. And so now when they're on dating apps, these type of girls nowadays, their exposure to attractive men is just that much higher, and that's something you just can't forget so easily if you're a girl, especially if you've actually had the chance to go on a date or two with these type of guys. And another common thing you just have to mention to some of these people is, well, what did they really look like when they first met each other? Because the big thing is that, look, they might have actually been a looks matched couple when they got into the relationship, but progressively throughout the relationship, the guy just, you know, became fat and he's less attractive. So, what you might perceive as women dating ugly men is not always what you might be thinking of. And you don't know exactly what their type of relationship is. A big thing when you see a less attractive guy dating attractive woman is you truly don't know what is the frequency that they're having sex at. You don't know any of this stuff. You don't know the type of drama he has to go through. And therefore, if you're using just random couples passing by the street, it's a little bit misleading. And the last point that I really had to debunk was they just want someone who they have a good connection with. And this is another thing. Connection is mainly looks driven. Like it's not going to be gesture maxing and trying to entertain her. It's mostly going to be driven by the halo effect, perceiving it as a good connection. And next, sort of what I alluded to previously, but the endless options on social media creates overwhelmingly high standards. And due to this reason, even if they have a good connection with, a normal looking guy, they're just going to view him as a friend when they're thinking, I could get this same level of connection from a guy that's more attractive. And the last point I really think you have to hone in on is that promiscuity will tarnish average guy's chance of getting genuine desire from a woman. So if a girl has been able to have access to these very attractive men, it's really only going to hurt her, next pair bonding experiences, because this average guy is only going to be seen for what he truly is at the end of the day, which is just some beta provider and someone who's just sort of the best they can, take at the current time being. If you guys want to watch a show that pretty much replicates this type of experience perfectly, all you have to do is go on Netflix and watch So Sex Life. I might make a video about some of the best series that replicate some of these, black pill narratives or some of these just relationship dynamics. But that one's a good one that I'll throw in here at the end of the video. But thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.